What's up guys? Welcome to another week in my vlog. I hope that this week goes much better than last week. Last week was kind of a mess. I didn't really have many projects lined up. I didn't have a lot going on. And just a lot of BS behind the scenes that kind of made the week really, really difficult. But we're starting off the week with the cliche Starbucks, the cliche food to go, because I don't know how to make my own food because I'm an idiot. Besides the point, we're going to the warehouse and today we're gonna finally start working on that RB. So I'm excited to get it back together with Alberto. Haven't worked on an engine in a minute. I can tell today is gonna be a good day just by two things that have happened already. Alberto is literally running around with the blowtorch trying to burn mosquitoes. Stupid. Why are they here?
Who's Roberto?
Oh yeah.
What? Come on.
That's the wrong YouTube channel, my guy.
What? What do you mean?
You met Roberto.
Yeah, but he's like 2 hours away. How could he have possibly brought that engine to the machine shop?
Well, he's helping me out.
Like, I've been going to this machine shop for years and they always spell my name wrong. Like, what? I'm gonna have to go over there and have a talk with them. Like, listen, my name is Alberto, not Roberto.
Yeah, we're building an engine today. It's gonna be a fun day. So I did a smart move, and if you guys remember, we kept on having dirty injector issues, so I went ahead and I got an injector cleaner. Now, the cool thing is, I'm not normally smart enough to go and do the research, but some products you can just kind of get a feel for, like, I think it's just rebranded China stuff. So I found an injector cleaner that sells for like $1,000 or something on Amazon, and I ordered it straight from China, and it was like dirt cheap. I think it was like 300 bucks or something, so we'll see if it works. I mean, it can't do that bad of a job, right? So yeah, China's gonna really screw up the US market, and it's probably not a good thing for me to be supporting them, but yeah, I don't want to overpay just for someone to rebrand something. So anyway, hi. Yo, this thing's actually really nice. I'm stoked with my purchase. Look how nice it looks on top of that little fridge. It's like it belonged there. There's so much crap. I gotta really make this place look nicer. Before we put the bearings in, Alberto has just been going through and checking for any sort of irregularities, and there were a couple little nicks that he filed down. I guess when you're putting the bearings in, if you have...
You can see a lot on this one.
Yeah.
Corner. From this side, you see like there was like, I had to like round it because it like had like some nicks here. I was pushing into the bearing, so I make sure it's flat, so the bearing it sits perfect. It doesn't have any pressure points that will wear on the bearing or cause any like irregularities on the clearance.
Makes sense.
Size of the bearings, there's the one with the little oil hole and the one that's completely like just solid. The ones with the hole are the ones that match the block. Pretty much you put the little guide pin part in and then slide the other side in, and then last one, truss bearing, which has a truss face on both sides. That one I like just to put it last. It was like right there like this.
Didn't we have a friend that had an issue with an RB because they put the bearings in backwards, so it didn't line up with the oil squirter?
So yeah, if you put the oil backwards.
Not the oil, the bearing.
The oil. I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't put your oil backwards, my guy.
This is the upper bearing, which in this case the bottom now because I engine's upside down, but this is the upper bearing. Has the groove and the oil supply hole, and then the bottom bearing is solid. So I will write on the bottom, so oil supplies to this groove, and then you have the little groove kind of goes in here on both sides, so it allows oil to create a film between the crankshaft and the bearing. But if you put it backwards, then there's no oil going into the bearing, so you will have no oil and just destroy the bearings immediately.
That happened to a friend of ours, like super legit RB build on the dyno, and it was really sad. Are you sure, Alberto, did they put them in upside down, or is it possible that they just put the actual bearing in like flip-flopped so the hole wasn't lined up? Do you remember?
Well, you cannot put it the other way, because if you put the bearing the other way around,
oh, the notch.
It won't
yeah.
fit.
Makes sense. Time for some lube. So it looks like you're just kind of filling the groove with oil. Obviously, you don't want to start the engine dry. We're not going to get oil down there right away.
Yeah, it makes a little amount, so you don't have to coat the entire bearing because it will spray once the crankshaft goes in. So you don't have to go too crazy with it. I'm just gonna like be dripping all over the place.
Don't we normally use red ARP assembly lube?
The red
green.
one is Permatex.
Ah.
But I like using this little like Lucas ones. It's like used it for a while, and we don't have any Permatex one in stock.
Got our new crank that came all the way, well not new, but that came all the way from the UK. This was the crank that came in the R33 that we gave away, and that RB25. So,
and it has a new needle plate on it.
Oh, I forgot about that, huh? So, obviously we've talked about this many times, but we had the machine shop put in the Nitto collar that basically lengthens the point of engagement with the oil pump. Ironically, that wasn't our point of failure, which usually would be in a situation like we had on the RB. Like I said before, we just kind of got these keyways damaged, and we'll try to combat that by properly torquing the actual crank bolt this time.
Well, the reason your crankshaft didn't have that problem at first because you had a needle.
No, I know.
Put on it, so that's why the pump didn't fail.
Yeah, but it probably would have failed if we didn't have that.
Yes, with all that abuse for sure.
Yep.
If it took that much abuse to break the woodruff key, would have broken the oil pump like way before that.
Yep. This, yes, would have been a really cool time to be a little bit extra and put like a different head on it or do like a RB30 block. Honestly though, that car, I don't want any more than 600 wheel, and if I were to put an RB30 block on it, I'd probably end up going to a bigger turbo, and then everything would just escalate, where I'm really happy with where the power level is with the car. I just want to make it a little more responsive and everything. So that's why we are just rebuilding kind of what we have, and then I'm going to be playing with the manifolds and a lot of that setup just to kind of make the car a better version of its previous self. How's the micro polishing look?
Okay, I'm just taking the machining oil off or whatever they put on it, so I can just get the assembly lube to like coat this instead.
We do have ARP studs on the bottom end already for the main, but we don't have, what do you call it, billet main caps like we have in my JZ. That would be baller.
I don't need it.
Is it stronger because it's all connected?
Yeah.
With the JZ, they're just separate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
It's like on the 4063s where the 6 bolt is better, but then you need to add a main grill, and the 7 bolt already has it on, so you're good to go.
Why don't they just make, like, instead of billet mains for the JZ, which are super expensive, why don't they just make something like this? Would it not work?
I think there's a company that made it, but it's probably really complex to make.
Yeah, makes sense. Let me recall for some old knowledge. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alberto. He's basically putting the lubricant here, so when he goes and puts that nut on there while we're torquing down the main studs, the lubricant will get sandwiched between the washer and the nut, so you can get a proper torque reading, because if it isn't, then it kind of binds on itself and your reading's not correct.
Yeah, you're reading torque of friction instead of actual like torque on the nut, so like it's an inaccurate reading. But this way, like you put it at the top of the stud, that way it also like drives it all the way through the stud as the nut's going in, so you don't have to just put a whole bunch in the nut for no reason.
The question is though, are we talking 60 foot-pounds of torque on like a Mustang dyno or a dyno jet?
That's a good question.
If you remember, we had quite a bit of issues with this engine with blow-by, and I think part of that was when we initially spec'd it out and everything, I don't think we necessarily took into account that much that we were going to be running E85, which is known to have a bit more blow-by. So when we go and re-ring it, we'll probably ring it a little bit tighter to let less blow-by pass the rings. So we've got a new set of rings in here, but before we go and gap those, Alberto is taking the old rings and he's putting them in the cylinders to take measurements to see what the old gap was, because I don't think we wrote down what it was before. And then we can go from there as a starting point to figure out what we want to gap them to. We had a minor predicament with the rings. Alberto, do you want to kind of explain, so basically what was it, that the lower rings that we ordered are actually a little bit bigger?
Alright, so our old ring gap was 21 upper and 24 lower. And then this is the math that I'm doing. I'm gonna do like the middle ring gap. So I called CP Pistons to corroborate my measurements with them and what they recommend for the amount of horsepower we're running and the application, which is drifting, and they agree with me with that measurement. So my new top ring, which is what I wanted based on my measurements, was 0.017 for the first ring gap, and going 2 sizes over on the bottom would have been 19, and then 4 sizes would have been 21, which is their recommended size. But I told them, do I have the right piston rings? Because I'm getting 0.025 on the lower one, and he said, yeah, you're good. You can run them to 26 or 27 lower ring gap, and you're fine. So it's okay to run 0.17 on the top and 0.25 on the bottom, which is what I'm doing right now. So the bottom ones are all the cylinders pretty much have been perfect on spot on 0.25, and the top ones are a little bit smaller than 17, so I'm filing them down to 0.17.
So now someone's initial instinct would be like, oh, if you're doing a bigger gap down below
on the bottom, but what he was explaining to me that the top ring is pretty much a compression ring, and the second one kind of like seals about like maximum of 10% of the actual compression. So the top one is the already one that matters for that blow by and compression, and the second one kind of like keeps the oil away.
Got it. So what I was gonna, so my question for you was, you did the math, you looked at their recommendations and everything.
Yeah.
Was the gap too big before?
Yes, he told me the gap was way too big for that horsepower range.
What was it, probably more for like 800-900?
Yeah, probably something bigger than that. It's a lot.
My guess is, I bet that the machine shop, since they built Kevin's RB, they probably did the same spec that Kevin did. And Kevin runs race gas in his car. He doesn't run E85, so blow by isn't as big of an issue. And his car also is pushing what, like 900 something at this point?
I think close to 1,000.
Yeah, so that would make sense.
Right, so let me see if I were to put 3.40 times 0.055, which will be like the nitrous, drag racing, everything, will still be just 18. On their biggest recommended ring gap will be 0.18, and we're running 0.17, which is like a medium, happy medium application.
And what did we have before, 21?
21,
yeah, so it's
like really big.
Man, what if I have negative blow by now? What if I don't, whoa.
You gotta make more power than before.
Would that be blow in? You think it'll actually make that big of a difference with power?
It'll vacuum, it'll suck the catch can.
Yeah, we'll have to keep, Alberto, we'll have to keep filling the catch can up with oil because it'll suck it in. Wait, do you actually think it'll make more power?
It'll give you more response, yeah.
Oh yeah, true. So that looser ring gap could have been why the throttle felt so dog poop.
So now you're gonna do your little upgrades plus bigger compression, so it's gonna be pretty nice.
It's gonna be higher compression, it's gonna be more responsive, and we're gonna have the ITVs, and we're gonna have a single wastegated manifold with equal length runners. This thing is it's gonna be the perfect RB.
It's gonna sound louder.
It's gonna sound sick. It's gonna sound great, and it's gonna feel great.
And super even.
If it sounds great and it feels great, I'll take it.
You guys forgot to mention the best part.
What?
It'll actually start without killing the battery every time, because it actually has compression.
Yeah, but it had compression before.
Yeah, but it took like a bunch of rotations to turn on, right?
And
then
I
now,
don't.
with the higher compression.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, it was more of like tune in E85.
Low compression.
Well, no, those injectors. Those injectors need to be cleaned. That thing's rough, dude.
Yeah.
It sounds like it knocks on cold start.
Oh my! Every time I turn it on, when it's like dead cold, we just blew up a freaking low mile brand new car. But nah, it's good.
Yeah. So that's what this guy's for. We'll probably test it with the Mustang injector since that's the car that we care the least about. Poor Mustang. It gets hated on so much. It's like the ugly redheaded stepsister or something. I don't know.
I'll take the redheaded stepsister.
You bet he will. Alberto's a huge Ariana Grande fan.
No, what are you talking about?
Dude, she was in that Nickelodeon show.
She was
Just
cool
saying.
back then, but
I
not
liked her back then.
anymore.
I was the first person to like Ariana Grande. She was my first crush. What was that show? Victorious, was it?
Oh my god, yeah, like.
You watched that show?
Yes. I used to watch that back in the day, yes. She was really cool back then, now she's not cool anymore. Like, now she's just like a big
I thought I was too old to be watching that show.
Singer thing.
Hip hop singer thing. Yeah.
You know she's gonna be hanging out with Cardi B or something.
Yeah, dude, honestly, Cardi B's the homegirl. We go way back. New rear main. Can I film how she greets you?
Wait, I don't know if she's gonna be naked or not. Hello?
Who's gonna be naked?
I don't know. I was hopefully you're not naked.
I just wanted her to pick up. She calls Alberto Senor Baby, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, you didn't say it.
Baby.
No,
No.
that's not it. Yeah, that's not my name.
Senor Baby.
That's gonna be your new name.
Huh?
New rings.
Camera.
What?
There goes the camera, looks like it's smashing against the box. Alright, so we got a new ring set. So I'm gonna put this aside right here for now. So we got oil control rings, and then we got compression ring number 1 and 2. So we wanna gap this ring according to our measurements to 0.017, which is gonna be the first one. And then our second ring is gonna be gapped to 0.025. Now, a trick to be able to measure this properly is I install the oil control rings on the piston. That way I'm able to set like a measuring point on where to install the compression rings on the block, so I can take a good measurement. Because if you try to just put them on like this, it's not good, because it's gonna be all uneven. So you wanna measure the piston ring like about this much into the cylinder, not on the top, because the top is like a little tapered, so you're gonna get an inaccurate reading. So you wanna measure like about ½ an inch lower than the top of the cylinder wall.
So are you saying you basically just use the piston to push this down?
Yes.
That makes sense.
So I'm gonna just assemble the oil control rings, and I'll show you what I do. Yeah, on this ones you don't need to use a fancy like the tool that I use for expanding the rings, because they're so thin. You can like put them on very easy, but you don't want to twist the compression rings. Also, this one's, why is it giving me such a hard time now you're filming? Piston ring, got the oil control rings installed. Now you can see I'm gonna use the piston to push the piston ring down, and then the oil control ring is just gonna limit my piston travel to one even spot. So then I take that, and my piston ring is perfectly even, pretty much where I want it. Now I'm gonna take my gauge, and I'm gonna, wait, let me put this straight, measure this, and it's snug right at 25, which is top ring. Piston, and press it down. All even.
Because we're just leaving the other one at 25, right?
Yes, the other one's staying at 25.
But these ones we're probably gonna have to grind down a little.
Yeah, they're always been small on 0.17 on the other cylinder, so we're just gonna like try to put this on. I can kind of like go in, but it doesn't go in all the way. It has to be able to go all the way, so it's a little smaller. So we're gonna take the ring to our nice little piston ring grinder. You're pretty much gonna press it even, and then spin the little wheel. Slowly grind a little bit at a time. Just put even amount of pressure, and then make sure the faces are straight with the wheel, not like this or anything else. So you got this stubborn, so you're gonna press against it and hold them straight a little bit. Then we're gonna measure again. You don't want to over file, so you file a little bit, measure, and do it as many times as you need, because if you over file, you cannot add the material back, so you're gonna have a bigger gap than the rest of the pistons.
So obviously if the gap is too big, that's good for higher power, but you wind up with a little bit of blow by. If the gap is too small, is it easier to like blow the rings out with higher power?
If you go more power, more heat. So if you go too close of a ring gap, the ring will eventually pretty much touch and sear out, and then just like that's gonna blow piston ring lands.
Got it.
You don't want that. But with this, piston rings are designed with a different material, and then that's what each piston manufacturer gives you like different measurements depending on what material their piston rings are made out of. After 3 attempts, I finally got 0.17. This is pretty much what you want it to be like. It's like snugly. Wait, what happened? It was just going in now. There. And then it goes in. Wait, no, it's still a little too close.
Alberto in the little chair.
Now it's a compression ring installation. So you have this nice little tool, put it like this, and it expands the ring without twisting it. So you can expand it and put it over the piston. And then get it on the second groove, if I can get it. Why am I so bad at this when I'm building film? This is horrible. Alright. That's the secondary ring. Same thing with the compression ring. Make sure you have the little N little letter there. It's like north, I always call it.
Is there a specific orientation of the two openings?
Just 180 degrees away from each other. So I just like put it on. Then I put one ring up one way and then the other one the opposite way, like this.
Do they spin while they're in the cylinder or not?
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
But I was being taught to put them this way, and that's how we put them every single time.
Cool.
But now you got all 6 pistons are done. So now I just gotta put them in.
Now, I know that they've been sitting, but is there any sort of lubrication that needs to go in between the actual rod and the piston since these have been sitting?
No, it's already like full of oil. That's good.
Okay. I didn't know if they were cleaned. Alberto used to talk so much crap about RBs. Like, you guys remember, I used to talk crap about RBs because everyone that I knew had bad luck with them. This guy was the ultimate RB hater.
No, I'm not.
You were the biggest RB hater.
Listen, who's the one building this crappy RB?
Yeah, I know, but like, look, now we're like RB gurus. And they're not that bad ones, you know, right?
Sure.
Just, you know, just all this work to get 600 horsepower that we could get out of a stock 2J. No big deal, right? Yeah, when you think about it in that way, it sounds kind of ridiculous.
Somebody's gonna say, no, you cannot use that. You need a special tool to put that in the thing.
When Alberto's voice of someone else becomes more accented. Imagine Alberto talking with an American accent. We gotta do the tap tap though, Alberto.
Tap, tap, tap.
The signature tap tap tap. Do you remember the very first engine building video we did with Lizardi dancing around like a wild maniac as we're going tap 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 tap
I
tap tap?
didn't do it this time, but I'm gonna see if I remember what it was.
Damn, son.
It's a toaster strudel kind of day. No, but we had music on in the background and then Lizardi's dancing like... It's gotta be that reggaeton beat. You're not doing it right, man. I gotta show you how it's done. I'm gonna show you how it's done, Alberto. You ready for it?
Is it even in all the way?
It's in enough.
Oh, that's better.
Oh, first try. What? While the head was at the machine shop, we did have them do a vacuum check on it. Everything was good. No warpage at all, which I mean would make sense since it never lifted or anything, but just to double check. I think, what else did they do, Alberto? Did they clean it too? I don't think so. Did they?
The head, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Just
lightly.
Over the things, and I cleaned the outside of it.
I don't think I've ever been so excited for a head gasket. It's so nice. Our old one didn't even, like, our old one wasn't like the junk style, but it wasn't as nice as this one. Can you maybe explain, Alberto? Because I don't fully understand. Like, I don't think they're the same, right? Is this one the same, but just those, like, ceiling rings are smushed down? Because you see how those look like it's separate? Was that the same style?
It's the same style, except this one's probably a little thicker.
Yeah, because those, like, the part around the cylinders, like, are flat on this one, where these are kind of, like, raised up around it.
This one's pretty much what it has. It's an MLS, and it has this, like, folded steel ring that, like, then crushes to further enhance the firing on the cylinders.
When people talk about O-ringing a block, what is that referring to?
O-ring block is actually different. They make a groove that says an indentation, and you put either aluminum or copper wire on the thing to make that press against the gasket, and it seals even better. But normally when you do that, it's when you use a copper gasket.
Yeah.
Different case.
But that's like for gnarly high horsepower stuff.
Yeah.
So I was just curious. It's always nice to try to learn every time we do one of these. So no spray on this one.
No.
Just because we like it because it's a nice Nitto gasket?
Just a little kiss.
I'm getting so excited for this. Why am I so excited? It's just a dumb RB.
Because you like ripping on it.
Dude, it's a good motor. I really need to figure out if anybody's like a sick like metal worker and wants to maybe make me some sick fenders in the rear for my R32 so I can fit really wide tires that have grip and not have to put dumb fiberglass fenders on and cut up my car. Yeah, thanks. Let me know.
A weird post.
What?
A weird post.
You're a weird post. We're waiting on final confirmation from Kevin Lawrence on what to torque the head studs to. Last time it was either 80 or 85, we couldn't remember, so Alberto just torqued him to 80. But mainly we're waiting on the manifolds. I guess we could do the oil pan and the timing stuff once we get the pulley. But other than that, I'm hoping I'll get the intake manifold maybe like mid next week. Exhaust manifold maybe around the same time, and then we can toss her in and start mocking stuff up. I really, really wish there was someone that made a CD bell housing for RBs. I don't know if there's someone out there that makes them that I just can't find, but I really, really like the conversion bell housing I have on my SR, and it would be sick if there's a way to do it on my RB. I'm very, very hyped on this new setup, and I know that my least favorite thing about the car is the way that the shifter feels, and the biggest weak point on the car is also the transmission. So, I don't know. I'm excited. What do you think?
Alright, can't wait to hear this thing, how it sounds without even equal length manifold. It's gonna sound pretty cool.
The ITBs will probably make it sound pretty cool too, huh?
That too.
And the new compression.
Yes.
It's so funny. You stupid engine, you stupid RB. Yeah, peppy. I like it peppy, dude.
Pep.
Yep, peppery. Okay, tomorrow, I think we might do some S15 stuff. Not too sure. Yeah, I don't know. Do we have anything else cool going on? And it's gonna be a long process. You guys know that I like doing stuff in a quick manner, but I guess I can tell you, plans have changed. Originally, I wanted to bring the Chaser up to Connecticut and have it be a drift car up there. But that car, I like too much to crash it up, and the R32 I'm kind of like whatever with right now. So while we're rebuilding the RB, we've been kind of trying to make it even more reliable than it already was. And mind you, when we freshly rebuilt this car, I took it up to Connecticut and street drove it for like 3 months.
I saw a bidding on this thing.
That's crazy. And it held up and didn't really have any issues. The only annoying thing was dealing with a lot of the suspension stuff, and the shifter on the car would get loose over time, so it's constantly doing bolt checks on the car. So, I mean, now that I know a lot of that stuff and I've been driving the car around more, it's even more bulletproof than it was. But there's a lot of little stuff that we can do in the engine. I don't know if you guys remember me changing turbo lines in my dad's driveway, but our new system for the turbo lines with the new manifold, less heat management issues, and now with this different throttle body setup, that hopefully it'll feel more responsive, be more reliable, and I can send it up to Connecticut and not have to deal with it that much.
And also, you didn't show like the teardown of the video teardown of this engine, but bearings were pretty good. Rings were still pretty much almost, I think, what we set them to. So it held up. The whole review was like really good.
Yeah, and I beat the crap out of that car too.
If it wasn't like for the Woodruff key, like it wouldn't have to go under a rebuild. And the whole reason we're putting new rings is just trying to like get rid of the blow by.
So I don't know. It's pretty exciting. It's definitely one of my favorite cars. It's just right now down here it doesn't really have that much of a purpose. If I'm driving an event down here, pretty much always would rather drive the Z. The R32 is cool and all, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it has a purpose. For me, it's like kind of the funness of driving my S13, but I care about my S13 so much and it looks so good right now and it just works that I don't want to mess it up, where the R32 I'm like kind of meh about. Like, it's a cool car, but I don't know. It's a R32, right? It is really cool, but I might take the livery off too. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Just make it like into it just like a more clean street car, because if I'm driving around in Connecticut, I'm not too keen on having it so loud and flashy.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I will take the red tint of the windows.
No, dude, it looked so cool when
That's the weirdest thing, looking out the windows. I was like, what the?
Dude, when the car was all white with the red windows, I think that was my favorite. I'll show you a picture.
It's almost like when you're playing back in the day, GoldenEye, you get shot and the whole screen turns red.
Oh my god, or like when you're watching Victorious and that girl's hair looks red.